You're joining the Dr. Business Podcast with Dr. Hollen Meyer, where we talk business sprinkled with a bit of Jesus. Our goal is to help you simplify business, impact more lives, and increase your profitability. By sharing the stories of influential doctors from various specialties, we help you get creative in connecting with your target market, increasing your exposure in the community, and collaborating with local providers so you can reach more people and avoid burnout. Thanks for tuning in, and we're excited to help you navigate success in your doctor business. And now your host, Dr. Hollen Meyer.
And welcome to another podcast. I'm Dr. Hollen Meyer, and today we have Dr. Jason Helton joining us. Thanks for joining us, Doc.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. I'm excited to chat with you today. Now, Dr. Helton is a 1998 graduate of Parker Chiropractic College, and he began practicing in West Texas, then expanded to the Lubbock area in 2000, and he's since opened clinics in 3 other cities while he continues to practice at the flagship office in Lubbock. He's currently the CEO of 3 clinics with 2 associates and 1 partner, and his focus is on disc and nerve pain treatments. But let's not forget the part of life that sets his soul on fire. He's also the husband to his lovely wife, and Mandy, and father to 3 girls. Now, Jason, if you can fill in the gaps for us and tell us a little bit more about who you are as a person and a little bit about the accelerated version of how you started in practice and fast forwarding to the operation that you're managing today.
Sure. My pleasure. I became a chiropractic patient after injuring my back when I was in high school in a football injury. Mm-hmm. I was nervous about seeing a chiropractor, but I went to one that was very thorough, took a lot of x-rays, showed us what was going on. And I walked out of there after a year of going to all sorts of other practitioners, MDs, massage therapists. And for the first time I could walk without pain after about a year.
Wow.
I was 14 years old. So that kind of set my path. And I was a patient of some really great chiropractors. Dr. Ashley in Lovington, New Mexico, who's kind of famous. Half the chiropractors in Lubbock are from Eastern New Mexico, and they're all somehow related with Dr. Ashley. So I got to really experience great chiropractic care. And I had planned on working as an associate with one of my chiropractors when I was here at Texas Tech. That kind of fell through, so I didn't know what to do. So I opened my own practice, used 2 used cars to get a startup loan for, I think, $8,000.
Okay.
And started practicing out of a 400 square foot clinic with my mom as an unpaid receptionist.
Yes, I remember days like that.
My dining room chairs were my office chairs.
Yep.
I had 1 table and I had 1 stem unit, and I just winged it right off the bat. But I was in a small town and everybody knew who I was, so I really had a lot of new patients, especially the first few years. I never really advertised or anything like that. So I had a lot of new patients, but it was a lot of, I'll come back when I feel bad, when I start feeling bad again.
Yeah.
I really didn't have a big maintenance practice or wellness practice until I joined a consulting group, AMC Consulting out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And they really helped me with my communication. And things kind of exploded from there. It was not a boom. It was just a steady growth.
Awesome.
And finally, over time, it really took about 5 or 6 years. I was at a seminar in San Diego and sitting with a group of doctors talking about, what took your practice to the next level? And it all came down to staff. And I was sharing space with 2 other doctors trying to save money.
Okay.
And I realized the staff was only loyal to whoever was signing their checks, even though I was paying my equal amount.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I called my wife up. It was 11:30 Texas time. I was in San Diego, and I said, "This may be crazy, but I want you to come to work for me." And she said, "Okay." I said, "I need somebody in my front office who's just as dedicated to my practice as I am in the back office.
Right.
And that really helped me explode it, because she's a great businesswoman. She's a great mom, great wife, but she's smart and she's great with people. And that really took things off, and we just kept going, how much bigger can we grow?
Yeah.
And over time, over about a 10-year period, we just kept growing and growing and growing and growing, until finally we were like, we need our own building. We need our own space.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do it. And so that's what we did in 2015 is I built my clinic, my building, 6,000 square feet. And I said, I don't want to ever outgrow it. And I've been in practice at that time 15 years. And I said, I don't want to ever outgrow it. This is going to be my clinic until I retire.
That's awesome. And thanks for sharing us kind of where you came from in business, because whenever I asked a large group of chiropractors in Texas, like, who should I interview about business? So many of them had so much respect for you as to where you are now and how you give back to the profession and to their practices too. So a lot of times people don't see the grassroots of how it started and the growing pains, and they expect to just arrive at where you're at today with being CEO of 3 clinics. So thanks for sharing that. I think that puts things into perspective for us too. And you may have hit on a few of these key components, but what is one of the best investments that you've made in your business?
Probably the best investment that took my practice to where my long-term dream was building my own space.
Okay.
It was a huge risk.
Yeah.
And
it's a huge space.
It's huge. But I was leasing for 10 years, about a 4,000 square foot office that I really, with me and 2 other doctors, had really outgrown.
Yeah. And
I was really beginning to focus on disc decompression and laser therapy, along with a lot of posture rehab, along with the chiropractic. And I needed space, but I kept looking at rental space and building it out. And finally I said, I'm going to bite the bullet. Where we were, when I bought the piece of land, there was nothing. We were way south Lubbock. I was from 75th Street down to 106th Street, which is, there were cotton fields around us. Okay. And so I was really nervous because where I was a really pretty good location before for 10 years. But I bit the bullet, and within about, I would say, a year of me buying the lot, Walmart went in south of me, Academy, and HEB is going south of me. And probably, there's a plastic surgeon there. It's become kind of a medical corridor, and my clinic is right in the middle of it.
That is awesome. So that is a huge risk that paid off well from a practice standpoint with visibility and patients, but also kind of from an additional business, like another revenue stream as far as real estate too.
And that's part of the thing. My wife and I have a real estate company. I own all my buildings.
Awesome.
And so I'm renting from myself. So I'm a pretty good landlord. I'm a pretty bad tenant sometimes.
But now there might be, because we haven't talked about this on this podcast, and there might be some docs that have considered, just buying a building, but that's such a big investment or risk for them.
Yes.
What advice would you give them on maybe like do's and don'ts, or the reasons to, and what to look out for?
It is location, location, location. It really is. And it doesn't get more simple than that. There were so many buildings available in central Lubbock, in areas that were, there were big spaces, but it was an area of town that just was not, I knew was never going to grow. At that time, when we bought the lot, I'd been in practice 15 years, or 16 years. So I knew which way Lubbock was growing, and I knew it was growing south. You have to look at the location. Does it fit you? Does it fit your patients? And you don't want to buy something that you are going to outgrow if you're in a growth phase. And it really took, we just have been in my new building 4 years, and I still have 2 offices that we don't have filled up. But I had 6 rooms on one side. I kind of had half of it was chiropractic. We have a semi-private adjusting area. And the other half was rehab offices, but just 6 blank offices.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to fill them up somehow. I've got massage therapy. I've got laser therapy. I've got electroanalgesia. And so I've still got three rooms left.
Awesome. So with your buildings that you buy, you
Yes.
have it specifically designed that you're going to fill that space, not necessarily that you're going to rent it out to other people.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And massage therapy is a great adjunct. They're great to rent. You can, some people will get a massage therapist and have them just rent the room.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that before. Usually if my staff is going to answer the phone and set appointments, then they're going to end up being a W-2 employee of me.
Yeah.
And I like control.
I want to ask about that too, because a lot of docs have trouble hiring the right massage therapist or someone that'll show up for the appointments or stick around for a long period of time. How have you been successful in hiring the right massage therapist that fit your practice, but also that like showed up with as much gumption as you do?
Well, trial and error.
Okay. Yeah.
The first few were error, more than trial, more than good. I had a couple that were straight out of school, and they wanted me to build their massage practice while I was building my chiropractic practice.
Yeah.
Did not work very well. It really didn't work well at all. And I got to admit, part of where I am now is talking to Dr. Todd Whitehead in Amarillo, because he's utilized massage therapists as in his lab and massage therapy in his clinic. And I said, how do you do it? And he said, I got 3 working for me. And so talking to him and figuring out how he did it, bringing him in as an employee. And also I'm at a point where they want to work for me because I have hundreds of patients coming in out of my office. And it's like, you need to see a massage therapist right there.
Okay.
So finding one, they need to have, I got to say, unless you want to have a specific program for massage, if you want to bring somebody in that's going to be helping offset some of your lease space or your rent space or your mortgage, then have one that has a practice already that's ready to make a move. They need to have their own business, because otherwise they'll be sitting there looking at you going, send me clients, send me clients.
Right. So I think it sounds like it has more to do with what are your goals and what do you need in your business? Are you trying to find someone to take off a little bit of overhead, or is this another service that you're offering your patients and just strictly a service, not really needing the revenue, but
Yes.
being a source of actually building their business, which is where you're at right now. You can do that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
And I have 2 massage therapists. One does the 60-minute, 90-minute massages, and he stays really busy. I've built his practice, but it's worked out pretty well for me. But then I hired another one who worked for a chiropractor in New Mexico that really enjoyed the rehab side of it. And so I trained him in myofascial release. I trained him in active stretches. And so he's a big part of my rehab and posture therapy, and patients love it.
Yeah. And I love that you've actually taken the time to understand, like, what do they want to do? What do they like? What fuels their fire? And then you become a source of value for them too, beyond just a paycheck. You're feeding them patients. They're learning.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, what would you say in practice? Because now you have so many different facets of business, which is why we're talking to you. But what has been one of your most successful failures?
My most successful failures, probably when I'd been 5 years in practice and I decided to go in with 2 other doctors and lease space with them, kind of what I talked about earlier. The other doctor owned the building. He had, I think it was about a 5,000 square foot building, and he had an associate, but he wanted we would all split the staff and split everything in thirds. And I thought, this is awesome. It'll save me money, and it's a nicer building. And I real quickly outgrew, I was still going to Seminole 2 days a week. So it was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday practice. And on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at that time, I was seeing more patients than the two of them combined. Mm. So the staff was working really hard for me, but the other doctor was signing their paychecks. Mm-hmm. And so his stuff came first. And now that I've had more maturity about it, I understand. Mm-hmm. They're going to be loyal to whoever's paying them, sure. Even though I'm writing that paycheck to him. Yeah. But it's what made me hire my wife, because they didn't take care of my practice like my personal staff would.
Sure.
And it was a battle every day. I outgrew my space. There was just a lot of friction, and I was there for about a year before I moved into my second location that I was in for 10 years. It sounded really good. It just cost me a whole lot of money and my wife would talk about it. We'd go to the gym afterwards, because then we also decided to run a marathon. And so we were doing marathon training, and we were going after work, and we would sit at the gym or at the park, and she would cry because it was so frustrating.
Wow.
And I was just it was a lot of stress, and we've been married for a year at that time. My practice was in that big growth space, but it was also very up and down. Mm-hmm. And I knew it wouldn't sink me, but I felt trapped. Yeah. I felt trapped.
Yeah. And there's something to say, like, even if your bank account is full and it is stressful as heck, and then impacting the person that you love the most, like, yes. Watching that, like, yes. At some point you got to realize it's either not worth it or you just switch gears, right? And so you were able to take that and actually make it a massive success.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to ask you about the 3 topics we love to talk about with connection, exposure, and collaboration. So when it comes to connection, what are some ways or techniques that you've been able to connect with your target market that some of our listeners could implement?
A big part of my practice, when I've been in practice long enough that I've seen different types of media come and go. Yeah. My decompression practice, I built a lot of it with newspaper ads.
Yep.
That worked really well. Lubbock has one newspaper that's big, and it covers about 300,000 people. So it was a really good until it wasn't.
Right.
And I could almost tell from one week to the next. And so at that point, one of my patients happened to work for the NBC station here, and he talked to me about TV advertising. And TV advertising, it's expensive. Yeah. But Lubbock, again, is kind of a great little market, because it has only one channel and everybody watches the Today Show. So we talked about it, we looked at it, and I started doing, my daughter was just born. So for the past 11 years, it's been a lot of TV.
Okay.
And I very focus it, with TV now, with TiVo and DVR is much better than the Nielsen stuff. Mm-hmm. So they can tell you when your demographic is watching and what TV shows they're recording and how much they're watching. It's so much more advanced than it was even 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I hit just right where my demographic is, typically in the morning, typically Today Show, a little bit at night after the 6 o'clock news. and it's been really good. But now it's real expensive, and the social media marketing is my next foray.
Right. Yeah. And so I did a lot of TV at the time as well in Dallas. It's pricey, so I understand exactly what you're talking about. But to really dial in on what's working and really like dial in on the numbers and make it a science. But I hear you also saying that you have to be adaptable to the times and adaptable and be willing to change with what works next.
Yes. So many people, and I think so many chiropractors, but a lot of doctors, they get stuck in their rut.
Yeah.
And it's scary, and a lot of times it's expensive to change, because with advertising, you go big or you go home.
Right. And you have to keep testing it for month after month after month to see if it even works.
Try it. And you can't think of it as burning money, even though it feels like you're just burning money. But you have to feel like you're investing it. You're testing the waters. It's like trying out new restaurants or trying out different vacation spots. You may go there and go, hey, that didn't work. And now I know not to do that again. For sure. And that was probably a big part of what I had to do, was see. It's amazing when I changed my advertising from 30 minutes later in the morning, how patients would come in going, hey, I saw your advertisement. How long have you been doing that? And I said, 3 years. I mean, you get a whole different demographic by 30 minutes.
Wow.
And so you have to be adaptable. You have to be looking at, is this working? How many patients does it generate? How much is it costing me? How much is it costing me per patient? Is it justify my case fee on what I'm trying to do with it? You really have to look at the business side and the numbers side. And I'm not a details person. I hate it. That's why I have a CPA. That's why I have a general manager that looks at all that and brings it to me going, here's what it is.
Right.
But you got to know your numbers, or you'll live or die by your statistics.
Right. And I think also a lot of people try things, but they're not looking at the numbers, like you mentioned, like the cost per lead. And does your case values justify TV versus social media, you know?
Yes.
So,
oh, yeah.
Now, this might be the same answer for you. I don't know, so I'm just going to ask it. But as far as exposure goes, because TV is a fantastic way to do that, but how have you been successful in getting more exposure and becoming known kind of like a local celebrity in your community?
I got to say, TV has been a huge part of it. I was getting out of the airplane in Dallas Love, and a guy comes up to me and goes, I know you. Then his wife came out and she looked at me and said, she goes, that's the chiropractor. He's on TV. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I get that a lot.
Yeah. And that's even outside of your community. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I that's probably the biggest thing. People look at me and go, I think I know you from somewhere. So that probably has been the biggest exposure for me. And that's what the TV rep, that's what he said. He said, when you're on TV, that gives you, patients see you as a solid business.
Yeah.
You're a real person. And when they walk in your clinic, they feel like they know you. Yeah. They've seen you, they've heard you, they get an idea of what you're about before they ever walk in. And it's been huge for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I agree. Now, in the pre-show, we talked a little bit about collaboration component, so you're not reinventing the wheel, but how much has collaboration helped drive your practice and serve your practice?
You know, I'm big with consultants. I'm really big with management that fits what you're trying to do. With chiropractic and business, somebody's already done it.
Yeah.
So just find out who's done it and what fits for you, and just do it, and then make it your own. And that's probably the biggest thing. But I also have a big referral base. I have a great orthopedic surgeon. I have a great spine surgeon. I have the best radiologists in town that reads the MRIs. And so you start getting from the medical community too. They're like, I don't know about a chiropractor, but I'd send you to Helton.
Okay.
Because
so how did you develop that relationship? Because there's a lot of folks listening that are like, well, I refer out whenever it's necessary and we've exhausted everything, but I don't really have those relationships with orthopedic docs or surgeons where they're actually referring to me. So how did you seal the gap on that?
A big part of it is reaching out to it. My sister-in-law is a vascular surgeon in Dallas.
Okay.
And she's also been a patient of mine for as long as my wife and I were dating, for about 16 years. And when she was doing her ER rotations in medical school, and I think she was in Pittsburgh then, she asked one of the attendings when a low back pain, severe acute low back pain patient came in, she goes, why don't you refer to a chiropractor? And he goes, I don't know any. He goes, I don't refer to doctors I don't know.
Mm.
And that was like light bulb.
Yeah. So that hit you really hard, right?
Yeah. It's like, I don't refer to people I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got 3 neurosurgeons that I send everybody to if I need a consult. I have the neurologist that I really like using, the radiologist, because he's so detailed on his MRI reads. That's the stuff that I want. And I'm like, you're right. I'm not going to refer to somebody who's not, who I don't know.
Yeah.
And so basically it's reaching out to them, going by and saying hi. All those things help you. And part of it is just keeping after it. You got to be persistent.
Being consistent with it, right?
Yes. You got to just, I've been in Lubbock now for 20 years. So that's a big part of what it does too.
That's true. That's true. Well, so we're going to enter the fire rapid round. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. I'll ask you some questions, and if you'll just answer with some quick, short answers for us, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. In hindsight, what would you say are the 2 top areas of focus in business, or at least what should they be?
Professional development, making sure that you have the knowledge that you need, and staff development. If you have one staff, then they need to be the best trained chiropractic staff in the industry. And my staff is amazing because we do a lot of training. And I put a lot of emphasis in making sure that they know what they're doing and that I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's the big thing is development. Always learn.
You've been on both sides of the coin as far as the staff can make or break you. Yes. All right. Next question is, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
Oh, and I don't know who exactly to attribute this to, but if it is to be, it's up to me.
Love it.
I mean, I heard Jim Parker say that. I've heard Dr. Tom Owen with AMC say that. So I don't know who said it, but man, it does come down to that. If it is to be, if it's going to happen, I got to do it.
That's right. Awesome. Taking ownership.
Yes.
What is one thing that you see consistently in every successful business owner?
They are always trying to learn more and then analyzing it and testing it. They're trying to figure out what's best, give it a whirl, but then also, like we talked about, being adaptable. You got to go, hey, I got to try this. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then I got to find the next thing and not dwell on how bad it did or how much it cost.
Sure. And I guess just kind of understanding that failure is not a bad thing, but it's just part of the game.
It's learning.
Yeah.
It's learning.
That's all. Awesome. And then last question is more about giving back. What's a resource that has been great for you that you would recommend for others for business?
You've got to find your peer group. You got to find your mentor group. I have to say the Texas Chiropractors group on Facebook has been huge for me to find referrals for my patients who move away, but also just the other day, I think it was yesterday, one of the chiropractors was going, I need a lawyer to review my associate contract. And I'm like, hey, here's my lawyer. She's done 6 or 7 associate contracts for me. She's done other business contracts. She's a great contract attorney. That's what she does.
Right.
And it's finding where you can go to talk to somebody. That has probably been the best thing for me. Finding those connections, because it's all about connections. It's who knows. Find somebody who knows it and just get them to tell you where to go.
I love it. You're so resourceful yourself. I see it as you work smarter, not harder. That's
Exactly. Exactly.
So there's going to be some listeners that are listening in, and so much value that you've dropped. Somebody might want to reach out to you. How can they get a hold of you?
Our website, www.806disc.com, or my email, DrJasonHelton@gmail.com.
Perfect. And I'll be sure to put those links in the show notes as well so that people can access those easily. Well,
Perfect.
Jason, thank you so much for your time and for all the knowledge that you've shared with us. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, awesome. And to the listeners, thank y'all so much for listening in. And if you got some knowledge or some nuggets from this conversation, be sure to subscribe and share it with your colleagues. Thank you so much for listening, and stay classy, folks.